Jury, just so you know, while we're waiting for the next witness, the plan is to go until 4:30 today. This way, sir. No, over here, thank you. Sir, before you have a seat, if you raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please have a seat, and once you're comfortable, I'll have you first off move that microphone. It's easier to move the microphone than the chair, but make sure you keep that close to your mouth so the jury can hear your testimony. And if you could tell us your full name and spell the last, please.
It's Richard Moussalli, and that's spelled Moussalli.
Thank you. Ms. Identifies?
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Moussalli, on January 7th of 2007, where did you live? Like what area?
I lived at 65140 County Road 215.
And you said it's immediately adjacent to their property?
Yes,
Okay.
but quite a distance.
Quite a distance. Do you have acreage?
Yeah.
Okay. And on January 7th, did you become aware of either some sort of a fire or smoke at the Stermer residence?
Yes.
How did you first, how were you first alerted to that?
My sons and I were doing chores that afternoon, and we heard a strange noise we couldn't quite identify, and we saw smoke coming from the direction of their home.
When you say you heard a strange noise, like what type of noise?
We really weren't sure. My son and I talked about it. We said, "What is that?" We just weren't sure what it was. We wondered if it could be horses. We really didn't know what the noise could possibly be. So.
And then you said you were able to then see their property?
No, we were not able to see their property. We were able to see smoke coming from about where the house would be. There was almost a third of a mile between our houses, I would guess, and woodlands, so we were not able to see each other's homes.
What did you do once you saw that smoke coming out?
We decided that we should go over and see what was going on, and so we got in the truck and drove over.
And did you drive out into the street?
Yes. Drove down the driveway and then out onto County Road 215 and headed in the direction of their home.
And then did you drive down their driveway?
Yes.
Did you have any difficulties driving down that driveway?
No.
And what did you see when you arrived?
The first emergency vehicle had arrived and was there, I guess, marking the driveway for vehicles that were to come. And as we pulled into the driveway, we could see that there were flames coming from the house.
Did you see any people?
Not until we drove back further.
So did you and your son then continue to the house?
Yes, I parked the car in the pasture land there, told my younger son to stay in the truck and my 16-year-old son to come with me as we went over to where we saw some people.
Do you remember who you saw?
Yes. I saw Mike Matheny and Connie Calhoun and Linda Stermer standing there, and then there was one person on the ground.
Did you know who was on the ground?
Not at first. I wasn't sure if it was Todd or possibly his son Trevor.
What was the condition of the person you saw on the ground?
He was unconscious, laying on his back, and he had obviously been burned. He had all hair was gone, which made it more difficult to tell his age. His skin, it wasn't blackened as you might have imagined, but burned, and so weeping serous fluid, perhaps a little swollen and puffy, and then also making it a little harder to determine his age, based on facial appearance, no wrinkles. So that was the general appearance.
Did you see anything to help you identify who it actually was?
Yeah, it occurred to me to look at his left hand, and I saw his wedding band, and then I realized it was Todd for sure.
Was anyone attempting to administer aid at that time?
No, not yet. Actually, I did ask if anyone had called 911, and I think it was Mike Matheny that said that 911 had been called.
So when you arrived, was everybody just kind of around Todd?
Yes, they were standing beside him.
Was he conscious at that time?
No.
Did you hear him say anything?
No. No, he was not responsive.
And at that point, what did you do, or how did you assist?
Well, I just started going through initial assessment, determined that he was not responsive, checked if 911 had been called, and then tried to, I could see that he was breathing somewhat irregularly. I tried to feel for a pulse and spent a little time feeling for a pulse, couldn't really get a very distinct pulse at all. And then determined that we were just not in a safe situation.
And why was it not safe?
We were about 20 yards from the building itself, and between us and the building was their home, I think it was their home heating oil tank, some type of fuel tank, a green tank. It was about 5 yards from the building and about 15 yards from us. We were just right next to it.
And so what did you do based on that
So
observation?
I felt we needed to move him. I just couldn't imagine dragging a burn victim across a horse pasture. And I said, we've got to find something flat to transport him on. And so Mike and my 16-year-old son, Luke, ran off and found something we could put him on and transport him on.
Do you remember what they found?
It looked like a kind of a mini plastic John boat.
John boat. So for those of us who
A
don't
John boat is kind of like a flat bottom boat, not a V-hulled boat. And it was like about half the length of a normal John boat. So it's probably about 8 feet long or 6 or 7 feet long maybe.
So when you say a John boat, I'm picturing an actual boat in my mind.
Yeah, a boat, a little boat.
And it was made out of what?
I think it was plastic. It was green, and I think it was plastic.
Did it have edges on it?
It had like a rim, and we were I remember we were able to hold that rim. It had seats in it, so we weren't really able to, like a bench seat or maybe 2 bench seats front and back. And then, so we couldn't really lay him flat, but we were able to at least put him in it and not have to carry him and drag him across, a soiled field.
What was Linda doing at this time?
She was wailing, and that was actually, we realized that was a noise we had heard from our home, wailing and crying, varying degrees of upset as minute by minute went by.
Did you ever see her on top of Todd or by his facial area?
No.
Do you recall how long you were on scene?
I don't really know. I would say I think we worked with him for 20 to 30 minutes total. I would guess that would be my guess. And then a few minutes, and we gathered my family, and then we left. So.
Do you see Linda Stermer in the courtroom today?
I don't recognize you. I don't know. Maybe that's you right there, Linda. Yeah, I guess that's you, Linda. Yes, I do.
And could you just point to her or describe her by something she's wearing?
Kind of grayed hair, pink blouse, headband.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the witnesses identified the defendant. I have no further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Morning.
Excuse me, Doctor, I understand you are a dentist, right?
Correct.
All right. Prior to being a dentist, though, you and I have spoken once on the phone, I think, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, and you were an EMT.
I was an RN. I worked mostly in critical care for 5 years before being a dentist.
So you know a lot about treating people, patients.
Some, yes.
All right. When you first were outside and you noticed smoke first or heard a wailing first? Strange sound.
We heard the sound first.
Okay. It wasn't just a faint sound, right? You could actually notice and look around. What the heck is that?
We could hear the sound clearly,
And you live a third of a mile away.
approximately, I'd say a third to a fourth of a mile in a straight line.
To the north of Todd's and Linda Stermer?
Yeah, they would be to the southeast, I would be to the northwest.
Okay. So you go over to the house, and ultimately you realize that the strange sound you heard was Linda screaming and wailing hysterically. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you also notice what she was wearing?
I don't recall at all what she was wearing.
Do you remember that she wasn't wearing any shoes?
No.
You got to what you ultimately learned was Todd Stermer, right?
Correct.
Did you start to try to do care, given you had a nursing background, a medical background?
I'm sorry, did I try to
do care for him, to treat him?
Yes. I was evaluating him and preparing to do CPR, but we felt we had to move him first.
Okay. I'm going to talk about when you moved him, but Your Honor, I'm going to grab this easel. If I heard you right, you and your son Luke
Yes.
and Mr. Matheny are the ones who found this 6 to 8 foot, did you call it a johnboat?
No, just my son and Mike.
Okay, Mike. They found it, they brought it over to you, right?
Yes.
And because here's the house. This is to the north, right? If this is the front of the house,
Yes,
you're to the north. You live out here, right, to the north?
roughly.
Okay. Todd Stermer is somewhere, and here was a fuel tank. Remember a green fuel tank?
Yes.
Todd Stermer is somewhere closer to the fuel tank.
About 15 yards from the fuel tank.
I can't see anything you're doing.
Just going to put, not to scale, obviously.
I can't see anything he's doing.
Council can move around.
If you want to,
I don't know how
do
he.
you want to, can you
Good.
see it now?
Maybe he's going to decide a little bit.
I'll hold it up for you, Doctor.
Or
I can
the side
see.
would be if you want to come up to a spot where you can see it better.
So, you decide, the three of you or more, decide we need to move him because there's a risk of fire from this fuel tank, right?
Correct.
And the house is on fire, as you see, right?
Yes.
When you came up, mostly from the upper floor.
Yes, that's what I saw coming out of the upper level.
Do you remember what side it was on? If the north is where you are, south?
I just remember seeing flames coming from the upper level through through the roof or around the dormers maybe, but just the upper level.
Okay. Then you take this 6 to 8 foot long, that's what it's a John boat?
Yes,
I'll just call it a boat. And you put Todd Stermer in the boat.
correct.
So where you found him is position 1, right?
No, we brought the boat right up to him and then lifted him.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
we didn't have to move him any distance at all. They brought the boat right up to him.
I got it. I'm just saying, position 1 is where you found him. You brought the boat to him,
Yep.
and then you moved him to a position somewhere about how far away?
I would guess it was maybe 50 to 75 yards towards the road, away from the house. So that would be 50 to 75 yards to the northeast. We moved.
Okay. Right? So this way.
Yeah.
Right. Not the scale, but 50 to
Yes.
75 yards. Yes?
Yeah.
And then you take him out of the boat, right?
Correct.
And this is where, at position 2, you start performing medical treatment for him
Yes.
as best you can.
Yes.
You said I think you tried to do CPR, but his airway was closed off?
Yes. Compressions were being done with Officer Gruss, and I was attempting to perform respirations.
Respiration is breathe through the mouth, open mouth?
Right.
Mouth to mouth?
EMTs arrived, and I believe they had an ambu bag for me.
Okay. When you were there, are you on your knees right over him?
Yes.
You're very close to his body, right?
Yes.
You never smelled a strong odor of gasoline, did you?
I don't recall smelling gasoline.
Given that this was a house fire and you're a trained RN, if you had smelled a strong odor of gasoline, you would have remembered that, right?
Most likely.
Okay. I don't want to butcher it. Moussalli?
2 S's.
2 S's, my fault. Sorry, sir.
No problem.
So you didn't smell an odor of gasoline. You did end up smelling, though, an odor of bowels, right?
Correct.
And that was a strong odor.
I wouldn't say strong, but I thought I could smell it all.
What does a bowel smell to somebody in your position as a trained RN? What does that indicate in terms of death?
I was concerned that perhaps he had already passed.
What happens that would cause someone to emit a bowel smell?
Just a relaxation of muscle that would then allow some bowel to pass.
You never had a conversation with Linda while you were at the scene, would that be fair?
She asked me a couple times if I thought he was alive. That was the only conversation we had.
And during the whole time where you were with Todd, she was trying to, she was just out of control, fair?
She was crying the whole time, I would say.
Wailing loudly, which is why you compared it and said, yeah, that's the sound we heard.
I seem to remember that at the initial encounter when I first got there, and then just perhaps just crying as time went on.
How long were you there on the scene, you think?
At least half an hour.
Can you give me 1 second, Your Honor? Were you ever interviewed by any insurance company representatives, investigators?
Yes. I'm not sure exactly what his position was, but I thought he was some kind of an investigator.
Does a guy named James Shinsky, ring a bell to you?
Vaguely.
Do you recall telling Mr. Shinsky that you smelled no odor?
Not distinctly, really.
Okay. If you would have told him you smelled no odor, like of gasoline or any accelerant, back a couple days after the fire, that would have been a better memory than now.
Probably.
But even now, you know if it was significant, if you smelled a significant smell of gasoline, you would have remembered it.
Yes.
And you don't know what caused the fire, do you?
Not really.
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Satterwhite?
Thank you, Your Honor. Doctor, is it safe to say there was a lot of chaos going on at this moment?
Probably more than I was aware of. I was pretty focused on Todd.
And that was going to be my next questions. Your focus was on Todd.
It was.
And you are by his chest and his head area,
Correct.
correct? And were you ever down by his feet or his ankles?
No.
So you remained up here to be able to work on his mouth, his breathing, and his heart.
Yes.
Is that correct? And you said you felt maybe there was a slight smell of bowel.
Yes.
Does flesh also have a smell when it burns?
It probably would have. His skin was not blackened. There were portions of his ears missing, but I don't really ever remember smelling anything like burning flesh.
How about burning hair?
Don't remember smelling that either, but his hair was all gone.
And you were also on the ground. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
So you have grass and dirt as well, right?
Yeah, we were in a horse pasture.
And you're also then very close to the home at this point?
Initially.
And can you smell the fire and the smoke?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Just a couple questions. You said you noticed the skin was not blackened,
Correct.
like as if you had direct flame burn, right?
I wouldn't say direct would be the right word, but
Your Honor, I don't object. He doesn't have he wasn't the doctor that actually performed it. I think he's just been outside of his scope of knowledge.
He's a former RN, and he said the skin was not black, and I'm just trying to explore, what does he mean?
I'm not so sure he
Thank
understands
you.
the temperature skin burns at, Your Honor, and when it becomes black.
Thank you. Let me just ask, from your experience as an RN and treating patients, have you experienced burn injuries?
yes.
All right. So you've seen people burned badly, not just Todd Stermer,
Yes.
and you've seen them where it's been blackened skin, right?
Yes. Yes. As
I don't want to be gross here, but like a hot dog that's been burned too long, you've seen skin like that from fires.
Yes.
This was more a thermal. You know anything about convective heat and radiant heat?
Yes.
All right. This is more those type of burns, wasn't it? What you saw.
I don't know if I can apply those terms. I would just say my description of the skin would be that it was oozing serous fluid, slightly puffy, but not blackened.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Ms. Satterwhite?
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Jury, any questions of this witness? Anyone? No questions. May he be excused from his subpoena, counsel?
I would ask that you please be excused from the subpoena, Your Honor.
Any objection, defense?
By all means, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You're all done, and you're excused from your subpoena obligation. Ms. Satterwhite?
Thank you, Your Honor. Keep a call on that Crandall.